Hi, you're watching Floyd Steinberg's YouTube channel. This is the fourth part of my series on the Grayton AP500 Pro EWI. And today we're going to use this in music production, recording audio and MIDI data. In this video I'll show you everything you need, both hardware and knowledge, and I'll also answer some viewer questions from the previous 3 videos. And if you think that's interesting, please join me for the next minutes in this video. Here we go. In this final lesson, we'll look at how to capture your EWI's audio or MIDI output so you can use it in multitrack recordings or live audio setups. Connecting your EWI to external audio systems not only lets you record it, you can also use more powerful speakers to instantly improve your sound. A typical recording setup looks like this. You connect your instrument to a PC or smartphone using an audio cable or USB. On the computer or phone, a piece of software captures and plays back audio, a so-called digital audio workstation or DAW. In this example, I'm using Reaper on Windows and FL Studio on Android, but there are countless DAWs out there. Just use whatever works best for you. An EWI can send both audio, the sound you actually hear, and MIDI, a protocol that sends small data packets describing which notes you play, how strong your breath pressure is, and so on. Audio requires more bandwidth, while MIDI is extremely lightweight but needs an external sound generator to turn the data back into audio. Let's start with audio. The first and most straightforward method of capturing your EWI's audio is to connect it to an external audio interface using a 6.35mm mono cable. On stage, you can also use wireless adapters like the Synodo A30, which transmits audio so you can move freely. In this example, I'm using a Zoom R4 portable recorder, which has excellent converters and preamps. It can act as an audio interface for your smartphone or computer, or it can simply record your playing to an SD card and even add effects and EQ if needed. This is a very robust and proven way to capture audio. The cables are sturdy, so the risk of damaging your instrument by tripping or pulling on a cable is very low. It's also the only setup that adds virtually no latency latencycy. The downside is that this introduces an unnecessary round of digital to analog and analog to digital conversion, which could theoretically degrade the signal slightly. In practice, modern audio interfaces are so clean that you won't notice. Once I switch the recorder into audio interface mode, the system will introduce latency latency. A computer or smartphone has to handle many tasks at once, so to avoid audio dropouts, it divides the incoming audio into small chunks, so-called buffers, and processes them one after the other. You can reduce latency by lowering the buffer size and increasing the sample rate. However, doing so increases the load on your computer, so experiment to find out what works reliably for you. Here, for example, I'm using 8 buffers of 96 samples at a 48 kHz sample rate, which results in roughly 16 milliseconds of latency. Since turning the recorder into an audio interface removes its main advantage, no additional latency let's use the AP500 Pro the way Grayton recommends. Connect it directly to your computer or phone via USB using USB OTG on the go. When you do this, it appears as both an audio device and a MIDI device. Let's capture audio first. In Reaper, you can create both audio and MIDI tracks. I'm adding an audio track here, then I select the correct input device in the preferences and also set the input on the track itself. Now I can press record and start playing. You'll see the audio coming in. It's a lossless, digitally transmitted signal. Since you now have access to all the conveniences of a modern DAW, metronomes, digital effects, additional instrument tracks, here are some best practice settings for your EWI. Turn off all internal effects such as reverb, chorus and filters. Your DAW gives you access to far more advanced effects like the free Valhalla Supermassive Delay. Turn your EWI's volume up to maximum. Mute the built-in speaker on the AP500 Pro by plugging in a 6.35mm adapter. This disables the speaker. Now let's talk about MIDI. As mentioned earlier, MIDI doesn't transmit audio, it sends instructions describing which notes you play, when you play them, and how you shape them by using breath pressure, the byte sensor, the function key, or the pitch bend sensor. This opens up many creative possibilities. One option is to load a virtual instrument that accurately models the sound you want. I'm using an older clarinet plugin here, and thanks to its advanced algorithms, it sounds much more natural than the built-in clarinet of the AP500 Pro. To get the best results, the plugin needs to know which MIDI signal corresponds to which controller. The byte sensor sends a different MIDI CC than the pitch bend sensor, and each control has its own number. If you don't know the CC numbers, you can look them up in the MIDI monitor. If your DAW doesn't include one, there are plugins and websites that can do the job. In this example, I'm assigning a growl to the function key, flutter to the byte sensor, and expression to breath pressure. Here's what that sounds like. To record your performance, create a MIDI track. Instead of capturing audio, the DAW now records MIDI data that instructs your plugin which sounds to play. This means you can swap out the plugin later for a completely different experience or sound. Here's the same phrase played through a trumpet plugin. You can also use hardware or software synthesizers to create your own sounds. All you need to do is to map your EWI's controls to synth parameters that respond musically. Here's an example using my Yamaha Montage synthesizer. Okay, so this is the Montage big synthesizer workstation. Yeah, let's create a sound for the AP500 Pro, which is connected to USB here. So press the category button, then press init. Let's use the virtual analog engine here. Then go to the performance page. Now press here and then edit. And now we can start using this panel here to create a sound. So I'll grab the EWI here and just play something. So it's already reacting to breath pressure with volume, that's good. Now let's bring up the other oscillators and slightly detune them like this. Let's select another wave here. Nice. Now let's introduce some filtering. So get the cutoff down here. Now we can't hear anything. That's because we now need to introduce a modulator that is reacting to breath. So that's all right here. The source is breath and destination will be filter cutoff frequency, for example. Maybe choose another destination here. For example, noise output. All right, let's listen. Alright, and now let's set up the effects. Reverb. Add a little bit of delay there. Yeah, I don't want to drag this out too long, but if I put some work into here, we can come up with some pretty sounds, even on hardware synthesizers like the Montage here. One thing I haven't mentioned yet is Bluetooth MIDI. The AP500 Pro can be added as a Bluetooth MIDI device, so you don't need a USB cable if you want to use it strictly as a MIDI controller. However, this type of connection is quite unstable, and I've never managed to get it working reliably on Windows. Even Grayton mentions it in their manual that Bluetooth MIDI is not recommended. And that's the end of this series. I hope you found it helpful, and thanks to Grayton for sponsoring this, and thanks to you for watching. Yep, and that's it for today. Using the Grayton AP500 Pro in audio production and recording. And thanks to Grayton for making this series possible. This video was sponsored by Grayton. And if you have any questions left that I can answer, please post them under this video. As usual, thanks for watching and see you again soon. Bye bye.